Um, Hi. I guess I've been called here to give a talk because of an inspirational speech that I've given in a web show. And I've also been portrayed as an inspirational character in that show. But let me tell you one thing. I've been a super indisciplined guy. And, there have been times when I need to push myself to do things. In fact, once I was recently asked to watch my own speech to get inspired, which was funny, yeah. So, but I think I did one thing right. I took the first step to come to Mumbai from Delhi. And since then, I've just been hanging in there. I don't do much. Somebody calls me for an audition, I go. But I don't pester people for work. I've just been hanging in there. And they say, when somebody hangs there for long enough, there's a proper saying, the longer you hang in there, the greater the chance that something will happen in your favor. And most favorable thing that has happened to me is acting. Trust me, I didn't come to Mumbai to be an actor. I came to Mumbai to be a film director. I thought maybe someday I would make my own films and act in them. But the way it has happened to me is totally by chance. I still remember the day when I took my first flight to Mumbai. I met Mr. Johnny Lever on the flight, and I felt it was a good omen. See, Mumbai always intrigued me, and I was finally excited to be there in Mumbai. I joined my new company as business analyst, and this was the first time I was living on my own, and I had no idea how to start my struggle. I just took time in settling in, and in some time, I got to know that one of my colleagues' roommate is an actor from NSD. So I arranged a meeting with him and asked him that, I really want to be a director, if he could help me in some way. He actually, initially he also discouraged me like everybody else. But then, anyhow, he gave me 10, 11 numbers for production houses. And he asked me to start the process from tomorrow. Like, he wanted me to figure out the location of these production houses. I said I would start my journey from Saturday, which was in like 4 days. So he just looked at me and said, Naveen, trust me, you won't be able to do it. Because, you're in such a good job, high-paying job, you would not be able to make this switch. It really pinched me, I felt he was right. So the very next day, I started my so-called struggle. I remember I covered the car area of Mumbai, and it had about 4 production houses. So I went to all these production houses, and needless to say, nothing fruitful happened. In fact, I got completely drenched by the end of the day because it was, that time of the year. It was like raining heavily in Mumbai. And I didn't even have an umbrella at that point. But I wasn't really disappointed. I felt it was just the first day of my struggle. And I, in fact, was a little happy to be, to have visited the production offices of the movies that I've grown up watching. Then the next day came, the day when things happened. The first production house that I went to was Vishesh Films. There were also, people were following the similar routine. They were just shooing me away. But then before I left, I handed my resume to one of the gentlemen sitting there. There were like 2 guys, one guy and one woman. And to tell you all, I had only 5 things written on my resume. There was name, age, number, and my education, and my job experience. So I was just completely relying on that. There was no mention of my theater activities or the plays that I had done in college and all. Because I thought that would, give me an edge over the other strugglers who would be coming to the offices like this. So the gentleman, he glanced through the resume, and he also got a little curious. He said, you come from such an unconventional background. Why do you want to get into films? So I was looking for that opportunity. So I just told him about my love for movies and how much have I enjoyed making plays in college and school. And, I'm just looking for learning. I'm not really concerned about making money right now at this stage. It turned out that the 2 people I was talking to were the directors. And they were about to start their next film with Bhatts. And it was called Jashan, the Music Within. After some more conversations, they offered me to join them. That part, I would say, from Pursuit of Happiness, that part of my life will always be known as the day I cracked my first interview of my dream career. I mean, it was a big deal for me. I thought it's going to be, making a breakthrough would be like long and back-breaking road, but it just happened to me. It turned out to be simpler than I thought, and I felt extremely confident about that. I thought, I would be able to convince more directors after that, and I got greedy. So after that, I went to other production offices, which were there in my list for the day. And as luck would say, I converted another film on the same day. Like, the one was Jashan, the Music Within. The other one was Veer, the Warrior. So on the same day, I had these two films in my hand. I used to think that, the people find it so difficult to come into the industry and work as an AD, and suddenly I have two films. I also remember the expression on my boss's face. When I went to resign, I told him that, sir, I won't be coming from tomorrow because I'm working with Bhatts. So he could not help but notice the seriousness on my face and accepted the resignation. How did I get my second film as an AD has also a very interesting story behind it. I really wanted to work with a guy called Dibakar Banerjee, and I met somebody on the sets of Jashan who connected me to him. The first day I went to meet him, he was looking for a chief AD for a commercial he was about to direct. I was obviously not eligible for it because I had done only one film before that. So, but before I left, he asked one of his assistants to shoot me on camera, to take a small introduction. Few days later, I got a call from the same assistant telling me that Dibakar wants me to act in this commercial he was about to direct. How weird was that? Like, I went to find a job of an AD, and suddenly he wanted me to act in the commercial. So, that's how I did my first ad. Anyway, getting back to the story, the ad happened. I kept in touch with the assistant. Because my main purpose was to work as an AD on, the next film Dibakar would direct. So one day, assistant called me up and he asked me if I would like to join him and Dibakar's team for weekend cricket matches. I readily accepted it because I thought it was an opportunity to interact with the team. But on the field, I realized that the chief AD, who was supposed to hire me, he was really too much into cricket. He was sledging on the ground, and I thought, the only way I could get the job of an AD on Dibakar's set would be like this. Like, I have to perform well on the field, and I would probably have to impress this guy, and then only he would take me for the film. And I would ensure that I would not bowl him out, or I would not hit him for 4s or 6s. So I would be extremely conscious of doing that. And the matches kept on for quite a few weekends, And then the hiring actually began, and I was obviously called for it because I felt I was pretty, well behaved on set. I was a kind guy on set. On the field. So, and they called me, but Nikhil, let me tell you, they didn't select me. I didn't bowl the chief AD out. I never hit him for 4 or 6, but they didn't select me. I was extremely disappointed, extremely dejected. But the matches were still on, and I thought it would be unethical on my part to stop going for matches. So I kept on going for them. And then, one fine day, my perseverance, I have also made a slide for it, paid off. The chief AD came up to me and he told me, Naveen, would you be interested in joining as a trainee? And though they were not really paying me well, but I accepted it. So, when I look back, I think there were strange reasons for getting different parts. My engineering background got me my first film, and my cricketing skills on ground, I played really well, generally. So they got me my second film. Oops. I used to be good in college with this, but it's been so long. After LSD, I felt I was ready to make my own film. And I wrote a script. It took me about 3 months to write a script. I sat at home, and I then took it to people who I thought would make it. But they never read it. Then I thought that I would make a promo or teaser in order to pitch my script in a proper way. So I came to Delhi, I met my old friends, my old college theatre friends. I made a promo. Promo helped me get more eyeballs, helped the script get more eyeballs, but nothing really happened to it. Those were the most challenging days of my life. I would be sitting at home and waiting for people to respond for months, but the script never got made. Meanwhile, I got another offer from Dharma Productions to work as an AD on a film called Agnipath. And I got really excited because, I was the third guy who came on board after the director and, of course, Hrithik Roshan. And this time I thought that I would stick to them, unlike what I did with Vishesh films. Though it was not my kind of film, I thought that this would, make me help become a director much, much faster. But unfortunately, 2 days after joining, because of some disagreement with the director, I was asked to leave the film. I was completely shattered. I was like, I was so disillusioned at that point. I didn't know what to do. I was also thinking of taking GMAT and, studying abroad. And after completing my education, I thought I would join some production house and, get in the part so that I can go and select good scripts. So I was just super lost. But then, as they say, good things happen to those who wait and wait, which I think I was pretty good at doing. A writer friend of mine wrote a film about 2 writers, and he wanted real struggling writers to act in them. The film was Sulemani Keeda. So, and I got the part because I was the biggest struggling writer in the city, and yeah, that's how I made my debut. Then at the same time, I think TVF also happened, and I started introducing myself as an actor. Nothing was happening to my script, so I just, whoever I meet, I would tell them that I'm an actor. So, but yeah, Keeda took a lot of time to get a release. No distributor was ready to buy it because it didn't have any known guy. I in fact remember one of the biggest distributor in the country wanted my director to remake the film with Siddharth Malhotra. He said the film is really nice and you should have some known face. And I'm glad the director didn't do it because I would have been devastated if he had done that. So, so it took a lot of time to release the film. Actually, it took about 2 years after we completed the film. By having more patience, what we do, we are basically buying more time. And when you know that you have time, you're okay with facing failures. And that the fear of rejection doesn't really hamper your performance. I remember a friend of mine really wanted to get married, and he was so desperate. And every time he would meet a girl, the girl would reject him. So I just met him, and I told him, you should not get demoralized until and unless 1,000 girls don't reject you. So just be at it. So, and he listened to me, strangely. So the next girl he met, he was pretty cool about it because in his head he thought, there are still 900 more girls to reject me. So I can be okay I can be myself when I'm talking to this girl. And apparently he got married to that girl. So, the funda really worked. I was not using this logic when I was trying to sell my script, but I use this logic now when I go for auditions because, we are in the business of facing rejections almost every day. So I avoid getting attached to any part, and I also end up performing better during the auditions, which is a good thing. So, yeah. So patience has been a good thing. Oops. Yeah. But before I got Keeda, before LSD happened, before I was thinking about taking GMAT, before I bagged my first film, the biggest task was to come to Mumbai from Delhi. Somebody who was such a good academic background. I'm not praising myself, but my parents forced me to study and all. So I remember when I was in class 6th and we were in a class, a substitute teacher came in our class, and because she didn't have any subject to teach, she just started interacting with the students, and she asked them what would they want to become when they grow up. And I remember that I said that I want to be an actor. And I continued with the dramatics in school. I remember in 9th class, my scores were really low, and that because of that, my parents didn't let me participate in plays in class 10 because they wanted me to score well in board exams. They wanted me to score at least 80% in board exams. So they also made me join a tuition center, but I would often lie to them that about attending extra classes in my tuition center, history and bio extra classes, and I would stay back in the school and rehearse for my plays. One day I got really late because of the play, and I reached home at 5:30, I remember, in the evening. And by then my father had found out that there were no history or bio classes, being taken at the tuition center. It was a maths tuition center. So I don't know why did I say history or bio. I could have said maths extra classes. I mean, I managed to get 80% in class 10th, but my father got my school changed. Later, I got more involved in dramatics, and but after finishing college, I followed a very conventional path of joining an analytics firm in Gurgaon. And I, in fact, remember telling my father 1 month after joining, I told him that, I would be, I feel settled in life, and I don't really, even if I don't work hard, and I will keep earning money. So, you need not worry about my future. But deep inside, I used to feel stuck, and I wanted to do something. So I ended up staging a play on my own. I would write a script. I would come back from the office and write something every day on my own. I would think about the guy from Shawshank Redemption who took 29 years to dig that hole, and he would do that diligently every day. So that was my inspiration, because I thought if I had to act or direct, I would have to create something of my own. So that's what I was doing all this while. I finally managed to stage the play at Kamani Auditorium with 40 people. And then, the next automatic destination was coming to Mumbai, which I was delaying in my head. Even my parents have given in. Then I met a friend at a party, and she narrated me this tribe story. She said, Naveen, once there was an ancient tribe. Whenever they would go for a war and they had to cross a body of water, on reaching the other side of the water, they would just burn their boats so that there's no going back. So she said, either they would fight and win, or they would just die. So she said, Naveen, if you keep your options, you will never make it. It sounded super filmy, but at that point, it really convinced me. 1.5 months later, I met Mr. Johnny Lever on my flight to Mumbai. So basically, I burnt my boats 7 years ago, and I guess I'm still fighting. And metaphorically, you die, I think, when you give up. But I think as long as you're fighting, you are in the game. Yeah. Thank you.